Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. My name is John Shipley. I am your host and beat reporter, and I've been your beat reporter covering the Jacksonville Jaguars for On SI every single day since August 2019, and we are continuing to march forward through another offseason together. As always, you can always find our 100% free, boots on the ground, 24/7 coverage of the Jaguars every single day on social media such as Facebook and Twitter when you follow us at Jaguars on SI. You can also find us at www.si.com/NFL/Jaguars. All right, folks, welcome to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. Of course, I'm John Shipley. Today, we are going to be listing our three bold predictions for the Jaguars in the 2025 season. Now, look back at some of my bold predictions from the 2024 season, from the 2023 season. It's shaky, but that is why they are bold. Of course, the one of the Calvin Ridley will be amongst the leaders, if not the league leaders, in receiving yards take. So we are diving right into it. My first bold prediction is that Travis Hunter finishes the year with 5 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. I think that Travis Hunter, the way that he'll be deployed, obviously I think maybe that touchdown number might seem a bit low to people. To me, just the way that I think that the offensive scheme is going to spread the ball around. I think that one of the merits of Liam Cohen's scheme is that, unlike maybe the last 2 schemes that were ran in Jacksonville, it's not simply going to be, these are the focal points of the offense. This is where the ball is undoubtedly going to. I do think it will be spread a good bit amongst the offense. So amongst Travis Hunter, amongst Travis Etienne, the rest of the running backs, Bayshal Tootin, Tank Bigsby, LaQuint Allen. Then you got Braden Strange. You even got the backup tight end. So I'd project we'll score a couple touchdowns here and there. Then, of course, you got Brian Thomas. You got Parker Washington. You got De'Ami Brown. I think Liam Cohen is going to utilize every weapon and every tool at his disposal. So, I'll actually correct that. Instead of 5 touchdowns, I'll do 5 receiving touchdowns. Maybe they can get him, some momentum and movement, as a ball carrier, on design plays, jet sweeps, that kind of thing. But I think just with his natural ball skills, playmaking instincts, and the scheme the Jaguars are going to play on defense, that even if he's not a full-time starter and player on the defensive side of the ball, I think he's going to have a chance to make a ton of plays. 5 interceptions is a bold prediction, in my opinion. Interceptions are already kind of hard to predict, because they're really scenario and situation based. A lot of it has to do with luck. It's just turnovers are a hard thing to project, but I'm of the belief that, due to both his traits and his ball skills and the fact that they are now in a vision-focused, zone coverage scheme, I think it's built for these guys to have more chances to make a play on the ball. So if Travis Hunter can give the Jaguars 5 receiving touchdowns and 5 interceptions as a two-way star, I think that'd be absolutely, stellar. I'm not sure how it would be calculated in terms of approximate value from Pro Football Reference or, wins above replacement from PFF, but I'd imagine he'd be one of the more valuable players in football. Just the number of drives he sustains, the number of drives he ends with points on, and the number of drives that he stops from the opposing offense. That would be big time for Travis Hunter. Next bold prediction, I think that Travis Etienne will finish the year with the most carries on the Jaguars roster. Now, do I think the Jaguars are absolutely gaga over the idea of Travis Etienne potentially leading the rushing offense? I'm not sure if I'd go that far. I, obviously haven't heard the things that, remember ESPN's Jeremy Fowler had that report that he said people around the league have said that the new regime is not as high on Etienne. Haven't heard that really in any sense, etc. But there is the sense that, in my opinion, they could see it as, okay, this is a guy who's produced before. He's not going anywhere right now. He is on their roster. Why not get out of him what you can? So I really think that's the most likely path for ETN's production this year. I could definitely see a scenario where perhaps Tutin's playing better. Perhaps they specialize in gap scheme runs, and maybe they go with Tank Bigsby. But I just think, due to Travis Etienne's past production, his experience, the fact that as of right now, he has versatility. They can use him also in the ground game, but include with his pass catching ability on screens, jet sweeps, that kind of thing. He gives them more flexibility right now, and I think the other running backs. And I think that plays a lot into my belief that he will be the Jaguars' quote-unquote top running back this season. Now, I'm not saying that in saying I think he's going to be the workhorse of the offense. And he's going to completely dominate the backfield in terms of touches. I don't think anybody should be that confident in any of the Jaguars running back options right now. They clearly wanted competition. They would have drafted Ashton Jeanty at number 5 if they didn't trade up. Mike Silvers reported that. Mike Silver also reported that Liam Cohen wanted R.J. Harvey at number 70. So it was clear they wanted to add a running back. They wanted to add more to that room. I'm not sure if that want is necessarily them saying they want to challenge and add a competition for ETN, or them just saying, okay, we believe that we're going to need multiple running backs to make this offense work. I think that's a very real possibility. But I think just looking at the scope of the room, how it's constructed, and what I believe Liam Cohen's going to want out of his offense, I think my bold prediction right now, I think Travis Etienne will lead the Jaguars backfield in touches throughout the season. Now, again, I don't think that means he's going to dominate the touches by any stretch of the word. I don't think that he's going to be a workhorse in the backfield. I don't think it's going to be like 2022/2023 is probably a better example. I truly believe the Jaguars have different areas where they believe each of these guys can win and that they will deploy them as such. But for right now, I think ETN's versatility, pass production, etc., and the fact that, he's in a contract year, they don't need to be worried about putting any treads on the tire. They can just hit the gas pedal and go with him. And for those reasons, I believe Travis Etienne will record the most touches of any Jaguars running back this season. My final bold prediction, I'll go with, I think Trevor Lawrence will throw 35 touchdown passes this season. Trevor Lawrence has never been a high-volume touchdown pass guy in the NFL. Only threw, I think, 12 to 13 as a rookie. Threw a good bit more in his second year, but still, by elite quarterback standards, nothing earth-shattering. Hit career high for touchdown passes in the season is just 25. In 2 of his 4 seasons, he's failed to get into the teens in passing touchdowns. So it's always kind of been a thing with him. I remember during the 2023 season, they'd get so many 1-yard rushing touchdowns from Travis Etienne. And I think, that would have been a good time to boost the numbers a little bit. Maybe quote unquote fudge them, just to put more on the stat sheet for the stat sheet watchers. I believe, though, in this season, he will throw 35 touchdown passes or more. I think look at Liam Cohen and his offensive scheme. When you look at Cohen, he knows what the quarterback position is about. And I believe that he also knows what this year's about when it comes to the perception of his quarterback and his ability to develop points. So when they get into those 2 1-yards, to go into the end zone situations, I'm not sure how often this year they will or should just hand it off. I think that they'll give Trevor Lawrence some of those. Baker Mayfield had, quite a few touchdowns that were only a couple, yards long. I think that is one big step toward giving Lawrence those numbers. And then just looking at his weapons, Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Hunter, Quentin Strange is on the upswing. I think De'Ami Brown is, a solid functional player as a number 3 receiver. He had a really good offseason program. Put all this together, and I think, all the stars are aligned for Trevor Lawrence to finally have a big year in terms of touchdowns. Thank you guys for listening to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. My name is John Shipley. Please give us a like, follow, subscription at the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And also follow us on YouTube at Sports Videos on SI.